Dari kota Yogyakarta, inilah Borobudur Writers and Cultural Festival 2022 dengan tema Membaca Ulang Pemikiran Haryani Santiko, Durga di Jawa, Bali, dan India.
Oh, sudah, soalnya masih tipis, udah nggak apa. Silakan dimulai Ibu.
Selamat pagi. Selamat pagi para pemirsa sekalian dan selamat datang di acara Bincang-Bincang. Saya sebagai moderator Restu Imansari Kusumaningrum dan yang akan memberikan lecture Mrs. Bettina WitteVeen. Ini saya siapkan dalam waktu yang sangat pendek sebenarnya, jadi saya mohon maaf bila masih terjadi kekurangan. I am preparing this with Bettina WitteVeen in a very short time, so first I will apologize if on this paper and on this meeting we make a mistake or it's not clear, but I'm very open to have an answer and question with Bettina. And the Borobudur Writer and Cultural Festival 2022, November 26th. And then this lecture for this afternoon, we will bring artist, thinker, and as you know, Bettina WitteVeen, already in Indonesia, and then she is traveling around the world. I will read her bio very briefly. WitteVeen was invited by one of the most important national sites of Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church in Berlin, and contribute to the nation commemorial of the 100th anniversary of the end of WWY in 2018 with the installation. And then you can see the name of the people who attend for that installation exhibition. This is in 2018. She is in Berlin exhibition. And then Bettina was substantially represented with 5 won in the groundbreaking Christa the Dignity project as a part of highly regarded art program at St. John the Divine, New York, 2016 and 2017. It's quite impression artwork and then very successful installation that she created in America. After Berlin, she's doing a lot of things in New York, America. WitteVeen participated in the 2 exhibitions by the Nassau County Museum of Art in New York with a triptych of the Combinable series in blue, and with the film Spark of the Deity, with a song without words, and the art of music in 2020 and 2022. So she just finished her exhibition and her installation in New York City. She's very active. She lives between Bali, Singapore, Berlin, and New York. She have studio very often go to East Indonesia, Cambodia, and then she have a lot of interest as a Buddhist and as a lady who's very brought up in a very open vision, especially for today in the 21st century. She carry on so many deeply committed and then active, especially to the peaceful resolution of conflict. And then she's very active in the movement of the free spirit as a woman too. And then in Phnom Penh for 15 years, she has and continue to sponsor war refugee for resettlement in the United States and Europe. I express my respect and gratitude to her because she is beyond of East and West movement, especially with the spirit of woman, the spirit of liberation and equality. As a strong believer in the empowerment woman by women, WitteVeen joined the Hipatia as a company in Singapore, and then as a art director and designer, she created in 2021. Name is Hipatia. Is a profit organization by renovate Indonesian artists and producer and creative people. So as a director there, so I am setting this Hipatia for Indonesia and Southeast Asia, that we as a woman, we can continue to empowering other women, and especially to richness the traditional of Indonesian art and craft, and especially for the East and West movement. So I will introduce you with Bettina WitteVeen. Bettina.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Restu. Oh my God, how wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for this incredible opportunity. I'm really grateful.
Thank you. I am so happy. I am so pleased that we can meet on the Zoom, and then it's a very, very beautiful day in Bali. And then I'm sure you are in Berlin right now, isn't it?
I am in Berlin right now, and it is in the middle of the night. Because
sorry.
The time difference. Oh no, but you know, it befits our subject, right? Kali,
yes.
That we're talking about is all about night mind, the moon. So it's a beginning moon just day after Tilem. So perfect timing, perfect setting.
Thank you. Yeah, in Bali, we just have a Tilem, the dark moon, and then not a lot of ceremony, but a lot of gamelan playing around my house. And then I would like to invite you. And then I just a moderator, and then I would like you to bring this presentation with the Sacred Sister, Kali, and Contemporary Photography. So please, I give it to you. Your time.
My time. All right. I started out, basically my subject, as you just said, is Sacred Sister, Kali, and Contemporary Photography. I wanted to start with Sacred Sister. Sacred Sister, it's first of all, it's a book. that was also had also an installation drawings from a famous artist, also known in Indonesia, Robert Wilson, who did Ila Galigo. We were working on this together. And what this book does, it is basically a guide for women to find their own power, but to also find the truth, and also the truth about womanhood. So I started with sisterhood, which basically is the shared experience of living in a female body in a society that is patriarchal. Sisterhood to me provides refuge and power. And why is sisterhood sacred? Well, sacredness to me is everything that we revere. You know, there is a psychological studies that show if we really, really love something and really revere it, we cannot hurt it. And that's what sacredness means. For example, a word that we often use is taboo, which comes from the Polynesian language and means do not touch. So sacred is also all of that what we value outside of ourselves. And valuing also means very concretely that we have to uphold and protect it. So for me, it is basically kinship is what I feel, and sacredness is what I aspire to. And that's why I started the whole project about Sacred Sister. The book starts with Medusa. I cannot see my presentation here, so I'm not sure what you are seeing.
They are not opening the screen share.
So do you want to play the video now, the book, please?
Yes, I do. Yeah, yes. I do.
Could you play the video now so Bettina can see and I can see? Please.
And everybody else can see.
Yes. Okay, please. The committee said that please wait a moment. Okay, we can wait. So
no problem.
No problem. Yeah.
How are things in Bali, Restu?
Oh, raining every evening and night.
Oh, that's not good because I think you're working with Robert Wilson on a new project, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh dear.
Okay, this is the video, please.
Okay,
Bettina,
I cannot
could
see
you
it.
explain? Yeah, you can talk.
I cannot see it.
Okay.
Oh, Bettina cannot see. The committee, could you help?
Ah, there it is. See it, see it. I'm good. Okay, I just really talked about this part. So
please continue. Yes, next. Yes.
Okay, this is a picture. Oops, that picture you just saw was a picture of me, of a woman in Tanimba, and I treasure this picture because this is sisterhood to me.
I have no control over
You have no control. Okay, fine. Can I have the next slide, please?
Next.
I already spoke about that. Next slide, please. Here we go. All right, so here this is the cover of the book, Sacred Sister. And as you can see, it's kind of a forbidding cover. It's not very inviting. And what you see here is the face of Medusa after Medusa has turned into stone. And it's a very, very important story within Greek mythology because Medusa is basically everything that's perceived as negative. And she's incredibly powerful because when you look at her eyes, her looking at you kills you. So you can only, in the end, she gets killed by a Greek hero, as usual women get killed by men in these mythologies. She can only be killed by using a mirror. So in my book, I dare you to look at yourself in the mirror. I confront all the aspects of the female psyche. I highlight the positive and I highlight the negative. You see, the negative part, which is called our shadow self, turns against us if we lack the courage and honesty to look closely at both of us women collectively, as well as individuals. So it's very important that you have to be truthful of ourselves. Otherwise, there's no true sisterhood and there's no true refuge and no true power. That's my view. Next slide, please.
Next.
Okay, here's the story about Medusa. What you see here is a Greek picture on the left side of Athena, and then you see the transformation series that I have in the book. And it's a Greek myth. It's basically about one woman against another woman, about women betraying each other. So Athena, who is the Greek goddess of wisdom, is an all-embracing the rational mind, and she has no relationship to her own sexuality or the more female, soft, quote unquote, softer aspects of femininity. And when she finds that Medusa, who's pretty and young and sexual, makes love with Poseidon, there's some other versions where she's actually raped, but in her temple, she, in a fit of jealous rage, kills Medusa. But she doesn't kill her, but she kills a young Medusa and turns her into a monster, which has a head full of snakes and whose there can kill. So basically what it is the story of transformation from victim to victimizer. Medusa was a victim of Athena, the rational woman against the not so rational woman, and she became a victimizer for everybody. So this explains this myth to why women can betray other women, and why a sister can betray a sister. So to become the healing and truly transformative leaders that the world now needs, we need to also deal with this female truth. I did show that transformation, which is very painful, by working with the trance dancers of Karambitam village in Bali, which has the same story. The interesting thing about my mythology project is that I was looking all over to see where there are similarities. And I found the same story in the leeks and in Ragda that is being performed in Karambitan. And what you see here, we stayed with all the necessary things that we had to do to make it a sacred dance and to not offend the gods and or do harm to the dancers. So for example, the wig that you see them wearing here, they were always exchanged. And, we prayed over them. And then what you see, the black dreadlocks, that's really interesting. That's what happened when the Greeks came to Northern Africa and saw dreadlocks, and they interpreted them as being snakes. Next slide, please.
Next. Yes.
Okay. Sacred Sister has a lot to do with mythology, and mythology has a lot to do with dreams. And the person who brings this wonderfully together is a statement by Carl Gustav Jung, where he says, myths are the dreams of, he says it, mankind, humankind. As an artist, I'm very interested in dreams, in particular because I want to understand the human condition. As a feminist, I want to understand why we are oppressed. I want to understand why women basically produce over 90% of worldwide GNP, but own less than 10% of the assets. And as a German-born person who studied Latin in school for 9 years, I was very exposed to Western thinking and particularly to Greek and Latin mythology. And I internalized this. And I only later realized how misogynist it actually is. Particularly in Greek mythology, the men are the heroes and the women not so much. The male hero represents order and all that is desirable to maintain an authoritarian society. Women, on the other hand, embody all the human weaknesses and represent chaos, danger, and all that is a threat to upholding the societal structure. An uncontrolled, angry woman is dangerous. A strong, independent woman is dangerous. Nature as the ultimate female power is terrifying to the patriarchal mind. Our societies have effectively attempted to dominate nature, which has given us a false sense of power. And I think this whole connection with nature, the goddess, the sacred, is a very important connection. Next slide, please. Next.
This is the thing.
Yes.
Now we talk about the three fates. That's how the book starts. The three fates are old and formidable women, referred as the Moira or Parse, and they are first explained in Platon's The Republic. They represent a personification of inescapable destiny that applies to gods as well as humans. So you have a rendition of the Greek fates as an etching on the left-hand side, and on the right side, you have my interpretation of it. And what you see is there is Clotho and Atropos and Lachesis, and together they spin the thread of life. Weaving it is together they spin the thread of life. weaving is a very quintessential part of human society. And as we, of course, know, that textile making is one of the great traditions in Indonesia. And someone who truly deeply admires Indonesian craftsmanship, and particularly also women artisans working in sulam and in batik
Weaving,
and zagat.
Yes.
I have been retained by Hypatia Singapore to create a fashion line that will bring the sophistication of these women artisans into the international market in order to preserve the rich and cultural heritage, to help it continue to grow, and to make the women economically independent. This is a serious concern of mine and Restu's. Thank you. Next slide.
Next.
Well, I just noticed that we jumped one important slide. So let me briefly say that I expanded my research in other cultures and became interested in Asian mythology because my grandfather was a Tamil scholar who lived in Chennai for 20 years. So I think my affinity for this entire part of Southeast Asian culture comes from my DNA. I am a practicing Hindu Buddhist, and I venerate Tara as a manifestation of compassion and the Buddha as a mistake, the ninth avatar of Vishnu. So I came to Indonesia in 1989 and fell in love. I traveled extensively, and I visited and spent quite a bit of time in tribal communities.
Good. Next.
Now, yes?
Yeah. Next
Stop.
slide.
No, not yet. Not Restu.
Oh, not yet.
No,
not yet. Okay.
Have to speak about the Amazons. Sorry, there was something that had been missed. Never mind. The Amazons, here you see again an Amazon in the Greek version, and then on the right-hand side, you see a wonderful woman who became my mother, Lucia, from the Asma tribe, who posed for me as an Amazon, and who herself is really an Amazon. The Amazons were a society of women warriors whose kingdom was believed to be in the north of the civilized world, and who tolerated men only as servants or as fathers of female children. They cut off one breast, and their deity was Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. So in other words, they took over what is normally perceived as a male occupation. They were hunting, not just gathering. The Amazon River was named after them, and he was believed to have entered their lands when he encountered some of the ferocious-looking tribes. I'm talking about Gaspar de Caraval, who was one of the early explorers in Portuguese. When I visited the Asmat region in Papua New Guinea in 1995, I was very much struck of how strong and powerful the women are. It is actually the women who select new members of their tribal community, and I was very generous and fortunate that I was selected by Lucia, who's an Asmat elder, as one of her daughters. And it was a very interesting, very physical experience. You rub the body, you get physically born through the legs, you suckle the breasts, yes, you do. And it is a very, very deeply moving and profound experience, and that I will always be grateful for. Next, please.
Next. Yeah.
The other big part, as I said earlier, I'm a follower of Tara, which is basically compassion, which means empathy with action. And Tara is the all-encompassing compassion. You refer to as Kuan Yin in China or as Kuan An in Vietnam. She is a major Buddhist deity credited with tremendous power, so will come to the aid of anyone invocating her name or mantra. Tara is also considered to be the mother not only of humankind, but of all sentient beings, not only of this world, but of all the worlds that ever were, that are, and that will ever be. Her heart is said to be the pulse of time, and her life is the cosmic dream. And I think this is just beautiful. I follow Tara, and my compassion is my guiding principle. So what you see in the center here is a Tara rendition, and on the sides you see young women that I posed as Taras in Cambodia, in Vietnam, and Indonesia, both as the individuals that they are, but also as symbols of the goddess. And my hope was that they would invoke an responsibility in the viewer, because I believe that only if we take good care of the most vulnerable members of our society will we have an equitable and happy society. And young women are the most vulnerable members. I would also like to say that I'm very heavily involved in helping educating young women, and also with young orphanages and so on, both in Cambodia as well as Indonesia. So it is active compassion. Next slide, please.
Next.
Here we are, Kali. Kali, and I'm sure there are many more specialists here on this panel, so I just, my knowledge isn't the greatest, but I do have read quite a bit about her. She's multifaceted and she's complex and she's everything. Now, when I was thinking about Kali, I was in a taxi in New York, and lo and behold, there on a street corner was my Kali. It was, of course, her energy that spoke to me. And it turned out Kali is a model, a dancer, and she was actually familiar with the Kali story. So she came to my studio and we initiated this whole dance scene. I placed her in front of a green backdrop. And this is meaning and significant because it is my interpretation and my allusion to the greatest power of Kali, which is mother of nature, Ma Kali. As many people probably do know in this panel, briefly, Kali was born from Durga during battle. She's female power in its most terrifying form. She represents the dark side of the soul when the veil of illusion is ripped apart and emerges. So when demons threaten the world, when Armageddon has arrived, Kali saves the world by licking up the blood of a great demon, drop by drop. Those thousands of new demons cannot arise. Such is her power. It's awesome. Next slide, please.
Next.
This is my rendition of Kali. In the book, you will see her being very concrete, and you will see her become more and more just into energy. So she becomes more and more abstract, and the background starts to dissemble more and more into particles. So because ultimately what we are talking about is all gods and goddesses are personifications of energy and of aspects of the human psyche. Now, I was inspired by my Kali by reading a book from Joseph Conrad called The Heart of Darkness. And I wanted to have a brief quote here. From the right to the left, along the lighted shore, moved a wild and gorgeous apparition of a woman. She was savage and superb, wild-eyed and magnificent. Now, this is the female transformative power at its greatest threatening to the male mind. I also want to say something in particular, because we have an East-West dialogue here, and between very different worlds, that the colonial mind in particular projected their fear onto women of colonial societies and also their feelings of guilt. And I think in this book of Heart of Darkness from Joseph Conrad, it explains the colonial mind extremely well. Basically, Kali led me in this book to a worldwide art installation, which is the very site-specific installations that Restu just mentioned. I did a larger series in which I confront the dark heart of warfare, and including the women of war. And of course, the idea about the project is to be about peace. Thank you. Next slide. Next. Oh, Kali Rising. Okay, that's what you're doing right now. What you see on the it's great. It's exciting. What you see on the right hand, on the left side, is a clip from a film that I'm working on right now, and it shows a collage that I created from the French Revolution. And on the right-hand side, what you see there is the Femen movement. Now, let me explain a bit. Kali is rising worldwide as female consciousness, as we see increased social injustice and continued destruction of Mother Earth. Wherever I go, I encounter that women who are angry and who want change. For example, in America, where I also live in New York, this is a very big subject, and it has been women voting and women's activism that have changed the political landscape. Historically also, it has always been women who brought about revolution. You can check every revolution, and women were first. That's true for the French Revolution, for the Russian Revolution, for the original Iranian Revolution from Khomeini, including the revolutions going on right now in Iran, and for the Orange Revolution in Ukraine, which now, of course, we have this terrible war over. The Femen movement originally were Russians and Ukrainians, and later became international movement. And it's interesting because these women, as you can sort of vaguely see here, demonstrate bare-breasted. So what they do, they have reclaimed their body, they have rejected the commodization of the female body and turned it into a successful communicative tool for their political movement. Next slide, please. Kali Hekate. This is an image of Hekate. This is Roman, and it reminded me very much of Hindu images with the many dimensions of the arms. Kali Hekate. Hekate is the Greek equivalent to Kali in a certain way. She's a bit darker, and she is pretty, she's being changed, her perception of her is being changed because women right now increasingly seek to validate female power and to reject the demonization. So there is a growing movement to interpret myth in feminist terms. So there's a growing movement that's interpreting Hekate in more positive, more empowering female terms. Kali is badass. She just does what she does. She does ask for no permission. And her equivalent in Western culture is Baba Yaga in Russia. And for example, she has become an eco-feminist icon. Now, Kali Hekate, who originally is a Titaness associated with the occult and the shades, who at night sends forth demons and spectral beings, and like the religious fanatics, who as part of worshipping Kali should do praise on travelers. The religious fanatics we're referring here is the Tuge cult that was quite prominent in India before the middle of the 19th century, and that basically in the name of Kali practiced human sacrifice in sacred temples. So we can see how the aspects of power can also turn into their negative. Today, Hekate is being also resurrected or reanimated in a more positive way, and she's become a symbol of the feminine divine in a number of religions, like Invika or the Global Goddess movement. Next slide, please.
Next.
This is just my reference to Kali. I think it says everything about her. Her darkness is sacred and the transformative power. And Black in Hinduism represents the pregnant void from which all phenomena are born. I want to point out that in my book, Sacred Sister, there is a totally Black page. Then in every single installation I have done, I have included a Black square. There's many meanings to my Black square, but profoundly, it is the Black void from which all phenomena, good or bad, are born. Thank you. Next. Contemporary photography. Restu asked me to say something about contemporary photography, so I will try. I'm not really a contemporary photographer in the sense that all my work is done analog. I do not work digitally, except in my films. The vast majority of contemporary photography is digital. However, classical analog photography is making a background because as we have more and more manipulation by the computer, people begin to value increasingly that which is authentic and not augmented. Now, I want to say something about women and what's happening with women right now in contemporary photography, in my perception, in my experience. Photography was traditionally a field where women had the same opportunities as men. The very first women photographers, photography really came into being around 1860, where women who accompanied their naturalist husbands and photographed the plants and the butterflies they collected. So they were very equal because it was a new medium. Today, this has been changing. It is true that the top 2 earners in commercial photography are women. However, and this is where there is the subtle way of how women are oppressed, which is it's not so obvious anymore. It's no longer just in dollar terms, but in other ways of opportunities that are being denied. Because women photographers today are increasingly only recognized for a limited subject matter. And this is basically if they work in portraiture, landscape, relationship, identity, family, abstractions, then their images get sold and they get exhibited. And the curators are interested in them. In the so-called hardcore subjects, male subjects, which in the 50s was still absolutely possible for women to do and be successful, as I said today, much less so. like subjects like politics or especially warfare, considered such a male domain, are off limits for contemporary photographers. And they do not, or very rarely, make it into the lucrative art fairs or into museum exhibitions. And I hope that will change. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Conclusion.
Oh, my conclusion. Wait, I've been told there's a conclusion.
Yes, you have the conclusion after this.
Yes,
Next
of course.
page.
Next, please.
Conclusion.
The most important. I just wanted to sort of give an idea how I've been working and what my experiences have been. And so I focus on experience that I had in Sumba. So in 1996, my husband and I went to Sumba to photograph locally famous ikat weavers as the Free Fates. This was the experience of a lifetime, I have to say. At that time, there was no tourism in Sumba. There was no electricity. Today there is, and I think that's a good thing. But what happened to us was we camped next to the villages in the rice paddies under a brilliant starry sky. The villagers came down from the mountains singing, holding torches in original traditional clothes. It was like the theater performance. It was incredible. So then they came down to pick us up for a marapu ceremony. The marapu is the great deity in Sumbanese culture and very powerful. And if he is not appeased and not pleased, then, a lot of problems arise for the community. So it was very important to ask the marapu first if our presence was wanted, was beneficial. So they brought us to this stone circle. They read in the entrails. They came to the conclusion that it was okay that we were there. And then, which really was powerful, they went about to bless all of my equipment, my Hasselblad, my backdrop, all the other things I brought along, including the backdrop. And the next morning then, which was also very interesting because I left it to them how they wanted to go about it, they chose the women who were supposed to pose. And the women that they chose were all very powerful weavers. And in their society, women weavers have the same high status as warriors because the women are warriors in a mystical sense. They are warriors because they deal with sacred symbols. And, doing an ikat weaving can be life-threatening. So after we had done the photo shoot, there was another marapu ceremony for our departure, which was both blessing our departure, but also cleansing the village again of our presence. And what I do, and this is very important for me to understand, because I work into another environment, I work with other people in the other environments, it's very important that they understand that I deeply respect and recognize what they have been doing for me and who they are. And so I always send back a framed photo to the people for whom I pose. So every single one got a photo back, post, just as you see it in the book and some more. So I was really happy to learn from a friend that when she went to the same village a few years later, they said to her, oh, we have to show you something. And they brought her to the communal house and there were all my photographs hanging and they felt proud of it. And that really made me very happy and proud as well. I should also say that when somebody poses for the camera, I do believe, as many native tribal people do, that you give something from your soul. I think you do. And so in my way of repaying for this gift is by providing educational opportunities whenever I sell work that is connected with this project. So in this case, we were able to send 2 young women to Kupang University from the Sumba village. And they're now very successful. One is a biologist and the other is an obstetric nurse. And I want to say this sums up my deeply moving, generous, life-affirming, life-changing experience that I had in Indonesia, a culture that I deeply revere and deeply love. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic. Let's applaud for Bettina.
Thank you,
Thank
Restu.
you so much, Bettina. Your presentation is really admiring everybody. I'm here with my team from Jakarta and from Central Java, from Aceh, from Bali. They are listening what you give. And I hope everybody from Java, from anywhere can listening this presentation from Bettina. And thank you, Bettina. It's really a special afternoon, I must say that, because I know this book. Bettina gave me the book, but now I do understand more about what is explained in detail. For me, how she not making a distance between the what she believes and the universal mind and open-minded with the spirit of what she already explained, Tara, Kali, and then how the important that woman carry on year by year, 100 years. It's amazing that the energy of the sacred sister that we have, basically, we just didn't recognize. This is something. Thank you, Bettina. And I will give this. Yes?
I was saying thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for your friendship. It means so much.
Thank you. We are happy to have you. And then I give this to the floor. If any other question, I give this about 1 minute, 2 minutes. Any other question from committee? If not, I will give this time, this minute for Bettina to explain more about your concept that you feel that you need to express. Please. It's no question yet, isn't it? No question yet.
Okay. Sure. I think one of the aspects is, I'm obviously the one person here who's not Indonesian. And, there is a lot of dialogue right now between like what culture can do and how we protect the culture. And, how is it when people from other, often more privileged environments come into cultures that are less privileged and how they use them and so on. I personally think that I have deep respect and complete understanding for wanting to preserve one's culture. But I also have to say that I think if one becomes too defensive about preserving one's culture, that culture will ultimately start to consume itself. It will die. Culture is meant to be an exchange. Of course, it has to be a respectful exchange, but I think it can be very enriching. And particularly in our time of the 21st century, where the human mind is changing so profoundly because of social media, I think Eastern culture, so to speak, let's say the meditative culture, the more right brain culture can teach a lot. And I think Western culture with the institutions that it has, with ideas about justice and the power of the individual, can also offer a lot. And I think the 21st century just needs completely new thinking. And I think it's important that women are in the forefront of this thinking. So I therefore would like to encourage any woman, be courageous, think outside of the box, think kindly, think generously, but think. It's really, really important. I think it's a very pivotal time for womanhood right now on the entire planet. I think we can make this better. It is not about replacing men. And I very much appreciate the help of men like my darling husband, who has been very supportive. And we know many men who are very supportive of the whole idea. It is really about liberation of all. And ultimately, it is about service to nature.
Wow. It's about liberation and service to the nature. And all. This is very important. So I agree with Bettina, the liberation, the opportunity, and the equality that we have in Indonesia basically is already here since hundreds years ago. In Indonesia, we believe about nature, and then we believe about the woman can speak. We believe about everything in terms of equality and equilibrium. Of course, with the nature, with the family, especially the small community, and become in the big community. That's what we need in the 21st century. And then any other question? I give again to the floor. Let me see. So it's no question. Everybody's very impressed with your
shocked.
presentation.
I hope I haven't shocked anybody.
So,
Restu, do you have another question for me?
Yes. A question from me?
No, Restu, do you have a question for me?
Oh, from me to Bettina. Very simple, Bettina. I would like to hear more about Medusa and Tara in your concept for the 2 days, in the 2 days life. Can you explain more about that?
Okay, Medusa is a symbol of, you know, we associate always violence towards women coming only from men. And that's not true. There's also violence and betrayal that comes from women. And we need to acknowledge that. And for example, in one project, which was called Death and the Maiden, I also dealt with women being participants in warfare. So this tendency to think of ourselves as only benign, that's not true. We are humans and we have also negative aspects and we can be destructive. And it's important to see that part. And that's really what the Medusa story is about. It is not very flattering for women. I mean, here's a woman who's jealous of another woman and, you know, turns into a monster. It's kind of brutal. So what I want to say about it is like, we need to also see these aspects in ourselves if we really want to be whole and truly be leaders of the world. And then Tara is the total opposite of it. She is ultimate compassion. That means, okay, compassion does not only mean you have empathy for somebody who is, let's say, in a bad situation, but you also have empathy for somebody who's actually in a situation that's better than you. So it actually, whereas the Medusa story makes us shrink and small, the Tara, if you can move towards Tara, we become wider and larger and more encompassing. So they're basically polar opposites. So it's a really good question, Restu, that you just asked. Thank you.
Thank you, because it is very different, very opposite, but this is in today's life, isn't it, Bettina? The jealousy, and then compassion, the power of the woman energy, and then it's not always, I must say that, because it's too dominating with so many, agitation, the energy of negativity every day. So I think what you suggest and what we need now is the energy of a woman, isn't it?
But an honest woman, a truthful woman. You see, we do not need the energy of women who makes the mistakes that we have all made. We do not need the energy of women who continue to uphold the patriarchal culture. We need the energy of woman who is really enlightened, which means she has looked at herself, has liberated herself. You cannot liberate somebody else unless you yourself liberated. Then you're a false liberator and you're dangerous. So that's what I'm saying. That's a very important aspect.
So I think this is one more question. This is one question, isn't it? I have one question. Okay, second. Okay, one question. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, Bettina. Nice to meet with you virtually. Do you have any insight on opening dialogue about Indonesian folk tales that are often diminishing the role of women in society or within the family structure? It has been disturbing me for a long time. I am a playwright and screenwriter and would like to propose another idea on this folk tales topic.
I did not entirely understood the question. The question is that if I have an idea how somebody could address aspects in Indonesian society, do you understand that right?
That's okay. Do you have any insight on opening of dialogue about Indonesian folk tales that are often
Indonesian what? Indonesian what?
Folk tales. Folk tales.
Folk tales. You mean drinking?
Cocktail.
Folktale is like, can you share? Okay. The folktale is like, It's a local from Indonesian story that if you understand, that are often diminishing that the role of woman in society or within the family structure.
Okay. Okay, I do think I have an idea for a dialogue here. First of all, dialogue is the right word. Dialogue is what we need. And I think as Indonesian society, as I understand it, which is very family-oriented, which is a wonderful thing. However, it does put people into different roles. So a woman is caretaker, man is not. So in order to liberate both, the whole idea of family needs to be a little bit redefined, meaning that whoever is the better caretaker or the more happy caretaker should do the caretaking, and the one who's the better earner in the outward side should do the outward. It should not be so bound on whether one is a woman or one is a man. And I think there are many women that have encountered that have very successfully in Indonesia negotiated this principle of that women are still very much perceived to be family bound and family oriented. And I think maybe what I would suggest for this person to interview women who have done that and bring these women into his playwright and let them speak for themselves and their experiences. I think the more women speak for themselves or have the opportunity to speak about themselves and are truthful about it, the more we will have a better dialogue and the more we can integrate everything.
Good. I think I agree with the answer from Bettina. So who gives this question is my dear friend Diane Butler. She is she's from America. She lives in Bali, and then now she is teaching in University Udayana. Very, very long live in Bali and then back again to America, and now she's in Bali. So one day I will introduce Diana Butler with Bettina in Bali. What do you think?
That'd be great. And you know, as she also comes from an American society, we can have an even bigger dialogue.
Yes. So, thank you. And then very good answer from Bettina regarding this question, because the dialogue is the first step and important. So for other women or folklore can be developed from the situation today or the past or for the future. I think this is a very good answer from Bettina. And then family is very family is very much in Indonesia and especially in the community everywhere in Nusantara, all over island. Thank you, Diana Butler and Bettina, for your question and answer. Now, another is from Safitri Sastrawan. Hi, I have a question. This is a question to you, Bettina.
Okay.
Do you see contemporary photography today still bring the awareness that you brought up, as it seemed to be still as relevant knowing women-led revolution still happening? How about that, Bettina?
Okay, I do not. I'm not totally familiar with all what's going on in contemporary photography because I don't follow it that much. But from what I see, I don't think that actually this subject that I brought up, that women are revolutionaries and that women are involved in warfare, I don't think that's covered at all. I mean, what I see is that it's a lot of very colorful, you know, what I would call kind of to amuse than instead of educate art happening today, at least in the Western world.
Okay, so Safitri Sastrawan, this is the explanation from Bettina. She's very honest that this is the condition in the Western world, and then she's not very much following the contemporary photography. But she agreed that woman-led the revolution still happening today, and then Safitri, you understand about this too. And then
look at Iran right now.
Yeah, look at Iran, and then even look at the voice of the woman in Indonesia too. But through photography, we can capture that, and then it can be another empowering woman that we are together with them.
So I think this is the answer, yeah, Safitri Sastrawan. Thank you so much. And another question, Bettina. Josephine, her name is Josephine Aprias. Aprias? Okay, her question is, what do you think about Sita and Durga comparing to Tara and Medusa?
Oh la la! Wow, you're holding straight in your.
Is totally comparing Tara and Medusa. I think Bettina,
that's very interesting.
You already explained Tara and Medusa before, yeah?
Yes, I have. So I'm now between Sita and Durga. Oh my God, I'm not the greatest Durga follower.
I know, but I can help you.
Well, I see a connection to the question that was actually asked earlier about the woman's relationship in the family and so on, which to me seems to be the Sita aspect. So you know, it's Sita is of course a great love affair between Sita and Rama, and Sita is you know, represents all these. Yeah, in a sense, the aspects that the young Medusa was representing before she was transformed into a monster. So I have not read, as far as my knowledge, that there has been a relationship between Durga and Sita that is the same relationship between Athena and Medusa. So in other words, yes, Durga is very fierce and powerful and let's say more masculine, and Sita is very soft and more feminine, like the young Medusa. However, I don't see that there is a competition or that there is a negative relationship, which you have in a Medusa and Athena, which would be the Durga. Athena has a lot in common with Durga. That's absolutely correct. Wow, I'm impressed. Good question. I got to study it more.
You read a lot of books, that's why you understand. And then even though Thank you. Thank you. So this is the answer from Bettina to Josephine. Okay. Diana Badzer, do you have a question to you?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of technique that you use for your art? Her technique is practice with a camera. How does she prepare herself before photographing? Mm-hmm. And her relationship to the camera, her relation to the condition of the place and time. This is a question, Bettina. What is your technique?
How much time do I have? Okay. First of all, I do a lot of research. So before I start out with having an image in my mind. That image gets sometimes triggered by reading something, or it gets sometimes triggered by seeing something. So I have the image in my mind, and pretty much realize what is in my mind. Mm-hmm. So then there's a whole practical aspect to my work. And this has been quite intense because, you know, I take an analog camera that's big and with extra lenses and a backdrop and lights. And, you know, I schlep them to, you know, these tribal environments, and the backdrop sinks in the mud, and there's all kinds of complications. Mm-hmm. Which is also quite a bit of fun. Now, what happens to me is my relationship to the camera is an extension of my eyes. But I've also learned that the Hasselblad itself has its own energy. So, for example, when I was in a tribal environment where there was negative black magic, my Hasselblad broke down. It just shut off. So it's a very interesting process that I'm aware of. And I'm energy oriented. So what I do is I sense the place that I'm in, and I try to sort of morph into it, become part of it. So become part of the hot air and the mud and the smells and everything. And then I hand it over. There are certain aspects, you know, in order so that the picture looks good, you know, you have to show them. For example, the model has to move two-dimensionally. Otherwise, the hand looks like a claw. That's not good looking. If it looks like that looks much better. So I show them these kind of things, how they have to move. And then I hand it over to them. They do it. and it becomes theirs.
Great. So, little bit I can, thank you, Bettina. Little bit that I can explain to Diane Butler. Bettina is a person who really loves research, survey, and all of her life is really into the research and talking and find out wherever she's in the project, she's really into it. And she's dealing with the nature, especially how the energy that she feels, how the nature talking with her. So often she's alone, isn't it, Bettina?
I like being alone. I'll be honest. I love people, but I love being alone.
Yeah.
Yes.
To feel that nature and to get the spirit that she can communicate and she can feel that this is what she wants. From the animal, remember, Bettina, you find like a special insect or sometimes the flower that she not recognize suddenly is a mission or is a guide to go to what direction. So the nature and the research, she blind together, she mix together and join, and then after that she discuss or she talking with her expert friend, or this is really interesting. So often Bettina really go to the technique, Bettina, technique for the photography, technique for implementation for her installation, but it's really a Western approach, I must say that. But she carry on the nature and the Eastern approach, like in Indonesia or like in Cambodia. So she mix it between method from East and West. This is a very special that I with Bettina, I work with her, I know the way she's working, and after that, she create. Is that correct like that, Bettina?
It is. And I mean, of course, you know, when I do these installations, a whole other ball game, and I have a team. I would also say that my photographs are being not only photographed analog, also with film. The film is to be developed, then the negative needs to be printed. Then every print gets very carefully spotted so that the eye is very quiet and takes on the message. It's a long process. It's like a craft, actually. In that sense, I'm an artisan. And when I do installations, then it becomes extremely complicated because we do them in environments, in buildings where nobody has been in. So we have to sometimes create all the conditions so that people can go in there. And I use the message of the building. So it becomes very, very complicated. It's very varied and a lot of fun. And I'm grateful I can do it.
Yeah, this is serious, Bettina. It's really, it's a really work with a team and then really fun. So this is that I can answer to Diane Butler. Is that correct, Bettina? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then different places, anywhere in the world, but in the village, in the city, or places that sometimes last minute Bettina call me or she discuss late night. And then for me, I don't have a problem because I'm the creative person too. And then she really into the camera that she want. And then her team follow up. And then it's really interesting. Isn't it? Sometimes we are not sleeping.
No, we're not sleeping and we have great ideas. When we sit together, we have great ideas. I think one of the things that's coming up is Supacha, which is going to be interesting because it's not only about artisans and women artisans, but it's also about endangered species. So we're actually bringing endangered species into the design. And, you know, Restu, it's so great with her. I come up with a crazy idea and then Restu says, oh, we can do this and this and this. And she makes more and more out of it. And so the two of us, well, or shall we say, we're not boring, I think.
Not boring, yeah. So Bettina, Diana Butler said, thank you so much. And she wrote here.
Look forward to meeting you.
I will organize in Bali. And she wrote here, it is a sacred sister approach.
Yes, it is. Oh, you're well put, Restu. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Diane Butler wrote this on this chat. It is a sacred sister approach. Yes, because we are in the same spirit as a woman.
Yes, we are.
Bettina, I hope you're not tired. This is a question, two question, but I just want to make sure.
I'm wide awake now. I had 5 coffees. I'm good.
Okay, okay. Okay. So this is Ramdan Malik. He wrote in English, in Indonesia, and then let me translate very fast. Okay, his question is that a photo from Sumba in 1996 in Kampung Adat Tarung? Are you still remember the name of the village?
No,
is in Waikabuba, Sumba Barat.
It is. I believe. I remember for sure it was in the western part of Sumba.
Okay.
But we went to 3 villages. And
3 villages. Okay.
We worked in 3 villages. And I'm sorry, I do not remember their names. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
But it is a photo, and it's a photo with my husband and I. Yes.
Okay. So Ramdan Malik, I'm so sorry because Bettina go to the 3 different kind of village, and I cannot answer detail about your question. But she's really sleep on that village. I think how long yet? More than is a sleeping and then walking and then into the village.
It's there for almost 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
The photo
Okay.
took 2 weeks, about 2 weeks.
Okay. So Ramdan Malik have a question. This is about Pasola. Is that okay? Do you involve or do you see the Pasola on that ritual when you are in Sumba?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, I did not see the Pasola. I understand about the Pasola, but I did not. And I looked around for this. There is a little bit of something equivalent, but it was all about man. So it wasn't my subject matter. And I missed it, unfortunately.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Ramdan Malik. It's not Pasola. So your question, she cannot answer. Okay?
But
because this
question ceremony, that was very special. And that is normally, that's not normally the people get to see. And it was very, very powerful. And they danced for us in the middle of the night. I got a very good view of Sumbanese culture. And it was very, very impressive. And both my husband and I very treasured that memory.
Okay. So Ramdan Malik, this is in 1996 when she is there, yeah? In 1996, yeah?
Yes.
So now it's 2022, 22nd. And then I'm sure Sumba is changed. And she went to West Sumba. So Pasola is in the East Sumba. So I think this is a different village. And then her interest, like what you already get the answer from Bettina, she always want to see a woman and then not again a man, but the spirit from the woman itself. And then you can see from the presentation just now how Bettina put the textile of the 3 women, yeah, Bettina? The old woman. So maybe you can explain that, the textile and everything. That beautiful photo.
Okay, the women do wear a black, very heavy cloth. And I was given this black heavy cloth to wear as well. And it has beautiful silver tassels on the side. And it is basically adapted on the top with a scarf, with an ikat scarf. Now, when I posed the women, however, I did not use their black because their black has no sheen to it. And so by having no sheen, it looks dead in a picture. And I needed to have life in it. So that's why I had brought some black silk with me. And I gave these pieces of black silk. And the women, drape them in different ways. And it's actually quite funny. If you look in the book, you can see that some women are very stylish and some are very... casual about it. So, and at some point you see actually one woman has a funny thread on the bottom because the silk started to unravel. So,
Yeah. So that is the answer from Bettina to Ramdan Malik. And then please don't forget, Bettina go to Sumba after she make a research and survey very, very deep. So she choose always because of she know what she want. So the woman or the village is not as an object, but she's working together with the local and then understand the textile there, the weaving there, the silver there. After she do a lot of research, this is I see from my experience with Bettina. And she go to, these are different projects. She went to the Borneo, and then she go to the river, and then she know exactly how deep the river, how the people there in the jungle. She make a comparison like Amazon or that kind of thing. So
I said in my presentation, and I think that sums it up very well, that I invite women to pose for me, and then I photograph them as both conventional portraits, which means I photograph them as an individual person, as well as metaphors of womanhood. So Sacred Sister is also a guide for individual women to become their own sacred sister and enlighten power in their own right. So I really try to give empowerment by doing what I'm doing and not to take.
Fantastic, to give the empowering to them and together with you, and then we are happy to be together. That's the most important thing right now, especially with the ecosystem, togetherness, solidarity, because we cannot just alone in this situation. And I agree with this concept since I know Bettina very, very long. And then we are together. We want to be in this kind of situation to save the earth and to save the woman's spirit and with the woman. Yeah. So I think this is quite interesting, Bettina. And I would like to say thank you to the committee who allow me to interview Bettina, especially for this festival. And then this festival is happening in Jawa. Can you imagine? In Jawa, we go everywhere.
I wish I was there. I so wish I would be there. It sounds so interesting.
I know.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So I will talk to the committee that Bettina is a very interesting to know more about today, the concept of this festival. And then when she is in Indonesia, we can meet, we can celebrate. Yeah, Bettina?
Yes, I'd love to. It would be great.
Yeah.
I'm coming in December.
Yes, and Borobudur Writer and Culture Festival is a very, very much into Indonesia, and then it's an international festival. A lot of famous or not famous or working hard or not working hard, they are welcome. They are happy to discuss about the culture today and the past. So I think, Bettina, shall we close because it's very late in Berlin?
Absolutely. May I say one last word?
Please, please, you must.
What I would like to say is that, you know, Indonesia has these incredible riches. It has one of the most culturally diverse places on the planet. It is one of the most species varied places on the planet. It has such potential. It is already realizing a lot of its potential, but I do think it needs still some more work. And one of the things that Restu and I want to do in the future is also bring higher awareness to all the women eco-warriors that in individual tribal societies fight for the Indonesian beautiful and powerful and treasurable nature. And I hope you all join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bettina. It's a very, very good invitation and statement from you. And then I hope I can see you very soon. So Bettina will be arriving in Bali very soon. When is that?
December 20th.
Oh!
Yes, I'm ready. It's cold here. It's freezing.
Freezing, okay. So come to Indonesia. It's like your home, a second home. And then we all very happy to have you on this seminar. And then again, thank you very much.
And thank you for inviting me. Thank you. Thank you to the committee.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
For the committee, thank you very much. For the audience, thank you. And have a good day. Bye. Terima kasih. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Matusuk. Oh,